Hello, my name is Trev. I am a self-professed geekologist and welcome to the latest episode of the Geekology channel. And today we're going to be talking about two things. The first is my wonderful new Mike Oldfield t-shirt, and the second will be about the star of the show, arguably, which is the HE1000 version 3. So let's put that box to one side. Putting that to one side, let's show off my new t-shirt. This is the 50th anniversary of the release of the world's biggest selling instrumental album, Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. And this is a very artful representation of the album cover. And it was gifted to me as a birthday present from my beautiful daughter, Holly, so thank you very much, Holly. The star of the show, however, is the HiFiMan HE1000, retailing at $1,999 on the HiFiMan website. Version 1 introduced the striking teardrop design and was a real showstopper when it came out all those years ago in 2015. Yes, this is year 8 since the introduction of the HE1000. Never before had we seen such a striking teardrop design as that. Version 2 came out and the cups got thinner and the pads got thicker. The 2.5mm terminations were changed to 3.5mm, and that has continued into version 3, of which I'll show you now. This is what you get. You get two cables. They're better cables. This one has miles and miles of length and is the balanced cable, and then we have a just as long unbalanced cable. And obviously that's where you get your warranty sorted. And here are the headphones themselves. Taking out of the box, it stands proudly on its own headphone stand. A foam thing, cheap and cheerful, but very practical and very comfortable. It sits against there as well, so you're not going to crush your cups. It will fit pretty much any head going. Even my tiny little head is quite comfortably accommodated with these. Only a few subtle differences between version 1 even from 8 years ago and version 3 now. You'll notice that the teak veneer cups are a lot thinner than version 1, and the pads are quite a lot thicker than version 1, because complaints were made that version 1 you could feel the driver against your ears. So these sit quite further away from the ear, still try and retain the same sound stage and characteristics of the original HE1000. The unique teardrop design that came out and stunned audiences in 2015 is very little changed. The sensitivity of these has got higher, so they are easier to drive. Instead of 90 dB for version 1 and 2, these are 93, and the resistance on these is 32, and the resistance on the earlier models was 35. And the most major change that we're going to talk about is the stealth magnet design, first introduced in the HiFiMan Sesfara, and has trickled down to many of their models, including their $149 HE400. The thing about the HE1000 that wowed audiences wasn't just the stunning design and the teardrop shape of them and the Frankenstein type headband and the fact that they were fairly easy to drive. Of course, it was the sound quality and that slightly forgiving way that HiFiMan found to draw the best out of some rather scratchier, poor recordings than some of today's real heavyweight stuff. HiFiMan's HE1000 seemed to find a way through that and made the music just more enjoyable and smoother sounding without apparently seeming to lose much at all in terms of detail. This brings together that original house sound of the HE1000, but has added trickle-down technology of stealth magnets. Yes, HiFiMan have finally dared to put stealth magnets into their darling HE1000s. The HiFiMan Sesfara was the first to have the stealth magnets. That is still their flagship planar headphone. So what difference does stealth magnets make to the HE1000 sound? The Geekology channel uniquely puts you in the place of reviewer, not just viewer. And I will compare version 1 of the HE1000 with version 3 of the HE1000, and together you and I as a team will decide whether the sound is different and whether that difference is better, worse, or just different. I'm going to be using the EF by HiFiMan, which features an R2R DAC and a rather nice, powerful headphone amplifier part. And I will be able to use the balanced cables. I will be recording the results of the sound coming from this and from version 1 of the HE1000 using an Olympus BCM recorder and some Roland binaural in-ear mics shown here. I put these into my ears, I put the headphones on, I press record, and the results will be shared with you. You can listen to them to your heart's content over and over again until you can get used to what the differences between version 1 and version 3 are. Up next is a recording of either V1 or V3. I will show it on the screen, but I will give you the opportunity to do a blind test if that's what you feel you want to do. It's completely up to you. For a bit of fun, you can see whether you can guess which one is version 1 and which one is version 3 of the sound samples that I'm going to be coming up with next. To do that, all you need to do is, when I say in 5 seconds the sound will come on, is either turn your phone over the other way or to turn away from your PC or computer. And you can listen to a track called Sanctuary by Robert Reid. Rob Reid from Wales has been greatly influenced by the sound of Mike Oldfield, particularly Mike's earlier work. If you've never heard Sanctuary before and you're a fan of the world's best-selling instrumental album and the soundtrack to The Exorcist, then I would highly recommend you listen in full to Rob Reid's Sanctuary album, which is available on Bandcamp. A truly underrated artist, which I'm pretty sure that very few of you, if any, will know prior to this video. Rob Reid will be coming on in either version 1 or version 3 of the HiFiMan. Sit back, relax, enjoy, and listen to your heart's content over and over until you've got a proper feeling for which one is which one you prefer. I will tell you what my thoughts are on it, and of course you will have the chance to give me your thoughts in the comments section. There will be a lossless version available. That will be a link on the YouTube description. The download is free and no subscription is required. This is as close as you can get to going into an audio store. The only difference is you're not going to be hassled by a salesman, and you can have as many hours as you want listening to it, and you can listen to version 1 and version 3 at the same time without having to take one set of headphones off and put the other set of headphones on. In approximately 10 seconds, version 1 or version 3 of the HE1000 is about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sanctuary, Part 1 by Rob Reid. Sit back, listen and enjoy. And turn over your phones or look away from your PCs now. Well, as I pack up the HE1000 version 3 here, I wouldn't recommend that you have the headphone stand with the cables attached to the headphones. The headphone stand is a little bit too small for the HE1000 really. But then arguably the cables detract from the look of the HE1000 when it's put on the headphone stand anyway. So what did you think? Did you prefer version 1 or version 3? Well, I can tell you what I thought. I preferred, by a small margin, and only by a small margin, version 3. And I will tell you why. Version 1 had an airier sound to it. The sound on version 1 had slightly less bass, and the sounds were a little bit less distance. Version 3 technically had a better sound. The sounds are closer to the ears. I think version 1 has a more forgiving quality than version 3, because I think that technically the abilities of the driver with the stealth magnets are higher on version 3 than version 1. The two things I noticed immediately, in fact the three things I noticed immediately on version 3 compared to version 1 was obviously the bass was more. 2, the sound was louder at the same volume on version 3 compared to version 1, and obviously that's for the reasons that we talked about earlier in the description at the introduction of my video. The micro details are easier to follow on the version 3. The soundstage is closer in on version 3, which many of you will find hard to swallow, but it's probably a more realistic sound in essence. And this is very similar to the reaction that I had when I've listened to Stealth Magna versions of pretty much all of their range. Stealth Magnets, of course, are the only way you can get hold of a Susvara, and there's a reason for that. Their flagship planer has always had Stealth Magnets. That trickle-down technology has finally reached the HE1000. I hope it hasn't horrified too many of you who are listening to this video through the HE1000s. Are you still sat on the fence as to what you felt was better or worse, or just whether it was different? You had the opportunity to listen to these recordings over and over again to your heart's content. You, the viewer, have now become the reviewer. You can disagree with me, or you can agree with me. I have my own tastes musically as to what I like, and the HiFiMan planers fit that. And the HE1000 is one of their finest planers that they've ever made, and version 3 hasn't let down the HE1000 mark by any means in my opinion. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. You have been listening to another instalment of my sound samples of the HE1000 in this case. For this and many more in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. Until the next time, once again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you real soon. Goodbye.